Good morning and welcome to the Burnside Bowling Club here in Christchurch, where we're going to bring you throughout the day the latter stages right through to the final of the Burnside Invitation Pairs here in a very sunny, beautiful morning here in Christchurch. No wind, plays underway here. A feature match we're going to bring to you this morning, that between the Horsell combination of Paul Matheson and Rod Graney, and they're up against Nathan Glasson, and of course is Kelvin Scott, who only about a week ago, of course, won the New Zealand singles. And 15 ends, a one on the very first end to the Matheson and Graney combination, who also went very, very well in the National Championships, getting through to the last 8 in the Somerset National Pairs. And you'll see all three greens here at Burnside underway in this last round of section play. Here's Graney now on the mat from the Horsell Club on the backhand, playing down to the, looks to be under the head. You'll see that sun right across the middle of the green there, so certainly highlights beautiful morning here. Nathan Glasson now very dominant, prominent bowler here in the Canterbury, of course part of the Elmwood Saints side in the televised Bowls 3-5 event. And I can tell a number of the players here at this event as well, including Paul Matheson, who's here, jump onto a plane this evening and head down to Taranaki for the Taranaki Open Fours, which gets underway in New Plymouth, or round the greens of Taranaki tomorrow. And there's about half a dozen players here from this Burnside event who are jumping on the plane to New Plymouth tonight as we watch Rod Graney. Remember, in this format that we're playing is 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. As we see Graney move the jack, just need to get used to these bowls. I know you can see that's Rod Graney. This is Nathan Glasson now, the Canterbury player. Kelvin Scott, of course, who defeated Tony Grantham in the final of the Somerset National Singles here last week. Well, Tony Grantham is also here. He's through into this top division, playing with New Zealand high performance coach Mike Kernahan. And the other games of interest in this top section, which are going on around the screen in front of us here at Burnside, sees Mike Kernahan up against Sean Thompson. Paul Matheson and Rod Graney, as you know, playing Nathan Glasson and Kelvin Scott. Matt Small playing with his father, Mike Small, up against Rod Fleming, and Craig Carter and Jeff Knoll. They're playing Regan Larkin. Interesting in that last section, which Craig Carter is leading. I can tell you, leading the sections in Section 1, Mike Kernahan is leading with 2 wins. As in Section 2, it's Matt Small and Father Mike leading Section 2. Paul Matheson and Rod Graney leading Section 3. And Craig Carter and Jeff Knoll leading Section 4. They yesterday caused an upset in the second round of the post-section play when they defeated the former New Zealand player, the legend of women's bowls here in New Zealand, Joe Edwards, and current New Zealand player Val Smith. They won that game 19 shots to 7, did Carter and Knoll, which puts them in a good position as they go into this last round, as we come to the end, coming near that, drawing to the end of this second end. Kelvin Scott waves his hands, very short. Here now is Paul Matheson on the backhand, playing with Morris Symes in Taranaki. And here is Matheson on the backhand, just questioned will come back towards the jack now, certainly on that wider arc to get all the way back. And they're going to run all the way. That's a good attempt from the Horsell player. Gets applause from Rod Graney, the skip Kelvin Scott now. Of course, we're playing the 2 by 2 by 2 format, 15 ends, and I think the time limit is 2 3/4 hours. I'll have to check on that, but I think that's what it is the Kelvin Scott bowl is just going to fall short again. And and then immediately after that, we'll be bringing you the semi-finals. So the 4 section winners here will make their way through to the semi-final, which we'll be bringing you live. And then, of course, we'll have the final of the event following that. Big thank you to Tamara and Melissa, who have put in all of this together. The other people are sitting next to me operating the cameras, doing all the hard work, and doing, once again, a wonderful job to bring you this first-class production And of course, thank you to John Phillips of Harcourt's Grenadier Real Estate down here in Christchurch. Great supporter of the Burnside Bowling Club as we see Rod Graney play his first bowl on this, the second end. Paul Matheson's very keen on this bowl that comes past the short bowls. Just needs to stop now, sit on the bowl, and falls back out. So I'm not 100% sure who's got shot at this point in time. So Nathan Glasson now on his forehand, trying to get past the front bowls, which he's going to do so. Needs to get past clear, doesn't do, just runs into it. Always, of course, on that ditch hand, you're going to get that extra drag from the ditch hand. That's always happens. A good weight then to Glasson, just not quite that yard of line to get to the so Rod Graney now, he's out on that wider side. Just question the weight, how far is it going to run? Needs to be stopping now, doesn't do so. So here's Glasson with his last bowl on this, the second end. Matheson and Graney scoring a 1 on the first. This also looks as if it's going to be on that tight line. We need to get under the head clean. Not going to do so. We'll see the outcome now. Kelvin Scott going round to have a look to see who's got shot. So I think it'll be a lot easier with the time limit, chaps, to actually measure. Kelvin Scott indicating that it was 2 shots to the Matheson and Graney combination. We'll just confirm that on the board in but a moment. And it was a 2 to the Paul Matheson Rod Graney combination. They jump out to a 3-0 lead. Of course, they are leading Section 2. So a very important game for them to secure that win to put them through into the semi-finals this afternoon. So here is Matheson on the backhand. Well-known player around, well, all 4 players, very, very well-known players around the Canterbury region. Just going to go by. Good green, sits in behind the jack by about half a metre. Got a full green out here in front of us of the Section 1. And I know people would like to have updates around the board, but it's actually, look, it's too difficult to be able to do so. There's 8 boards out here, and it's just, it's too challenging to try and see who's in front and who's not. So we'll obviously, at the completion of play, we'll give you a complete update. And then on the other 2 greens here, we've got the 2 other sections, Section 2 and Section 3, endeavouring to play their way through to their respective semi-finals this afternoon. Here's Matheson again on the backhand, certainly got a tighter line to the jack with this bowl. And it's coming. You would have heard Rod Graney saying it's coming well. It does just fall lower the jack. Kelvin Scott, now the current New Zealand Somerset National Singles Champion, on his forehand. Perfect conditions here today. No wind. Look at the flags on the road front here at Burnside, and there's no movement whatsoever. I've been fortunate being down here right from when the Somerset National Championships were on right through to today, and the weather that we've had in Christchurch has been outstanding right throughout this right throughout the week for the Somerset Nationals, and of course the annual Burnside Invitation Pairs. Always a very, very much well, players always want to try and get into Burnside. It's been a bit challenging with the COVID scenario to try and get the field that they want. They've got a really good field here assembled, as we see now. Rod Graney from Horswell Club on his forehand. Of course, getting through to the last 8 last week in the national pair, so this is a pretty much informed combination. Just breaking in towards the head now, going to sit on the Kelvin Scott bowl, does so cleanly, will make 3 of it. So Nathan Glasson now, he'll need to follow that line on the forehand. Very strong combination is this Nathan Glasson, Kelvin Scott combination. And I just question is how far is Glasson coming back towards that centre line. It's on a good line. You're going to sit outside the shot bowl or fall in. Going to fall in for shot. And well played by Nathan Glasson. His shot just in behind the jack. Rod Graney will follow that same forehand line. And it looks to be certainly a different line, but it's got weight. It's going to sit up to the Glasson bowl. Will do so. Tip it through the head. More than likely not actually what he was ideally playing for, but got the result. And a wry smile there from Kelvin Scott. Was certainly going with a bit of, I would say, narrowish weight. Just made to make contact with that shot bowl. Here is Nathan Glasson again. Borders the line in. How far has he put that line and weight in? Needs to sit on the front of this bowl to get a good result. Not going to sit in behind the bowl of Paul Matheson. And it would be the Matheson-Graney combination playing 3 shots. Still, of course, a number of bowls to come on this end 3 of 15. And absolutely no chance of any adverse weather disrupting this event today. Here now is Matheson on his backhand. He's certainly on a good line. Is this bowler Matheson's? How's the weight as it comes towards the head now? How far is it going to run? Going to sit right in behind the jack. In fact, a toucher. Well played. Though, must make it 2 because he's got to rest back on the jack as well. Just push the jack back slightly. Might only be the 2 now. Here's Kelvin Scott, the current New Zealand singles title holder, endeavouring to play down to the counting bowls. Always looked on the wide side out of the hand, and they had good weight to rest those counting bowls. You'll see the 2 bowls there of Paul Matheson sitting just in behind the jack and 1 in front, and the bowl of Nathan Glasson just sitting 3rd shot, just sitting lower the jack. So Paul Matheson endeavouring to improve again. Get definitely wider with this bowl, but how far will it break back? Coming back towards the centre line now. And how Rod Greeny pretty keen on this. Well played again from Matheson. So indication from Nathan Glasson, attack that head, 3 down, you can get all of those 3 bowls. So here is Kelvin Scott now on the charge, trying to get to the 3 counting bowls. Certainly he's going to get the jack as he gets the jack, and will stay alive, I would say. Can't quite see how far that jack went. Not a lot of movement from the skips. Oh, you'll see there it is sitting. You'll see the yellow jack. And there's certainly a bowl, a Kelvin Scott bowl, I would say, that is sitting literally right on the lip of the ditch board. So you see, putting the marker, the golf ball marker, and you might have heard then the call from Paul Matheson saying to Rod Graney, you've got to beat the front bowls first, and then worry about what happens after that. 3-0 to Paul Matheson and Rod Graney. So here is this last 2 bowls. Just question that weight's not going to hold it up. And I can see a Nathan Glasson bowl there as well, down towards the deepest part of the rink.
Same way he played with his second one last time. I wasn't happy. I knew you'd like that.
So here is now Nathan Glasson endeavouring to add to the count. If he stays up, one would think he would count.
You're on, mate.
Yes, he's in the count, you can see there. So it would appear Rod Graney's best option here is endeavouring to get second shot. Could be a good number here from the Elmwood Park combination. Just question, how's that weight? Doesn't seem to be as quick as his first bowl, but is heading towards the ditch and will not stay up. In it goes, and we'll see what that number is in but a moment, because Nathan Glasson's still got one bowl left. So Glasson certainly on the wider side with this bowl, just wanting to make sure that he stays alive, stays up on the green. If he stays up on the green and beats his front bunch, it will count, and does so. So here's the debate of who's. This could be 5. Six it is. I thought it was, so. There's a big change on the third end. A 6 to the Glasson Scott combination with 3 down on the head. Kelvin Scott drove the jack into the ditch, and Rod Graney couldn't reduce the count after as well. Nathan Glasson drew two to the shots to the ditch. So of course it all comes down as these last round games. You may be leading the section, but of course you lose a game, and it all comes down to differential and all sorts of things. So I'm certainly not going to predict at this early stage who's going to be into the semi-finals, because there's a long way to go yet before we're anywhere near that position. So we see this first bowl of Kelvin Scott just going to come low of the jack. You can see it there across the centre line. But the conditions we've got today, absolutely perfect conditions. So there's no excuse for under green bowls. So a good bowl here though from Matheson on this, the fourth end of 15, just comes down towards that jack again, sits right on top of it. Been impressive early on. These first 4 ends has the Horsell player. So Kelvin Scott again on the backhand. That little grimace at the point of delivery. Looks to be on a better line than his first, but is it going to get to the jack? Just going to come under what is the shot bowl of Paul Matheson's and disappears away from that centre line. So Matheson again now on his forehand, endeavouring to build the head for his skip for the next 2 bowls to be played by Rod Graney, but that's going to be narrow. And a number of very, very important matches here, of course, in this green in the top sections of those 16 sides that qualified for the top section. Then there's a second section of the same number of teams, 16, playing out in the green to the right of me here, and another 16 in the third division playing on the back green on this field of 48, all playing their way through to semi-finals. So here is Nathan Glasson, 1 down on the head after picking a 6 up on that third end. Just going to go by to see it come down towards the number. So Rod Graney, he'll be endeavouring to get a couple of bowls close on the head to try and recover from that disastrous 6 that they just dropped on the third end. And here Val Smith, the lead for Joe Edwards out there. They're playing, in fact, I can tell you they're playing Sam Morton from South Canterbury, one of the scribes, in fact, for Bowls New Zealand. Does a wonderful job feeding into Bowls New Zealand a number of stories and highlights. And he's qualified for that top section, and at present playing Joe Edwards. And the Glasson bowl just going to go by. And in that section, I can tell you that it is Craig Carter that is leading the section. followed by Regan Larkin, Joe Edwards and Sam Morden, but all can change very quickly in one round. So Rod Graney needs to sit on something to count, and will, but there's plenty of room for the for Kelvin Scott. So here's Kelvin Scott, down on the head, leading 6-3. Looks as if it's going to have good weight, but just stay on that wider side, and will do so. So, second shot, so Paul Matheson now, and doing to draw up inside that Kelvin Scott bolt, give them the 2 shots on a good line. But just going to come under the head, will sit jack level. Scott again. Won the New Zealand singles back in 1998 and then repeated it in an absolutely masterclass 10 days ago against Tony Grantham here at Burnside to win the Somerset National Singles. And of course, Grantham as well, playing with Gary Lawson, got defeated in the final of the pairs against the composite combination of Seamus Curtin of Stokes Valley of Wellington and Andrew Kelly of the Canterbury Club here in Christchurch, as we see the second bowl of Paul Matheson's. So a good bowl there from Paul Matheson, sitting right in front of the jack, but I'm sure we're going to see Nathan Glasson now. Just as we saw Kelvin Scott on the previous end, Glasson will endeavour to attack that head 2 down, leading 6-3 as we play Ian 4. Here is the Canterbury player on his forehand. Play down there with weight, holding up through those 2 bowls at a jack level. Looks to be outside the target, might get one, gets the jack. Goes into the ditch, will stay alive. And there's the call, 1 down to the Nathan Glasson bowl. You'll see the Movie colour bowl there. Now what we're going to see Rod Greeny do, play down with weight, trying to force that bowl of Glasson's out of their head, because they have got 2 seconds, and he'll play with ditch weight, trying to get to that bowl. Is going to be under the line. So we've seen some big turnarounds, of course. 3 down was Glasson and Scott that last end. An attacking shot, and they turned it into 6 up. And then on this last head, they were at least 2 down again. And Nathan Glasson played an attacking shot, got the jack in the ditch. Hold 1, another 3-shot turnaround. Here's Glasson on that wider hand on the ditch side. Needs to come past his front bowl. And he's got a feather. Will it be enough? Don't think so. And I'm sure we'll see that same shot from Rod Graney, trying to play that cannon shot. Could be 2 now was the call from. So Paul Matheson indicating to his skip that we could in fact be 2 down. So here is Graney on his backhand, endeavouring to try and play that shot again. needs to get past everything or get one onto one of his own. So we'll see in a moment, but definitely indicated by Paul Matheson that it may well be two. Two it was. So 2 attacking shots on 2 consecutive ends from the Elmwood Park combination. Went down on the head and they've turned them both into scoring shots. In fact, they've turned them into 8 shots over the last 2 ends and have been able to hold on to those 2 shots. It's been the Matheson-Graney combination have been holding the shots on the head, but the attacking play of both Nathan Glasson and Kelvin Scott has resulted in good outcomes for the Elmwood Park side. So good opening bowl here from Kelvin Scott. Has sort of hasn't had the weight coming down this way, but has certainly got it right on this. But this is the 15 with his first bowl. So play started here on Friday, where the 48 sides went into sections of 6, and they played 5 rounds of round robin play here at this Burnside Piers. And the top 2 in each section went through to the Division 1, giving them that group. And now they're all playing out here now. And from this 3rd round this morning, the top four sections of 4, and those section winners will go through to the semi-final, and then of course the final. The Burnside Piers been on the bowls calendar for as one of the prestige events for a number of years. Always following just after, a week after the National Championships, a very busy calendar. We'll have the Somerset National Championships, and we have the Burnside Piers. And then starting tomorrow, of course, around the greens of Taranaki, we have the Taranaki Open Fours, 158 teams, I think it is this year, lining up with section play that gets underway around the greens of Taranaki. And we'll be covering the semi-finals and finals of those events live from New Plymouth next Sunday. At this stage, not sure whether the headquarters for the finals will be at Paratutu or West End. There's always that debate every year, the parochial debate. But we will have that coverage as well of the 117th Taranaki Open Fours, as we see Glasson now on the forehand, holding 2 shots, leading 8-3 after 4 ends. And of course, differential will always come into effect in these latter stages. Very important. Going into this particular game, it was Paul Matheson's side who had a handy differential. Of 22, of plus 22 in fact. Of course, it can very quickly evaporate if the scoreboard doesn't move in your favour. Here's another good bowl here from Nathan Glasson coming down towards the jack. Just going to sit alongside it, and that'll count as well. So we're seeing now the Glasson-Scott combination leading 8-3, putting pressure on the Rod Graney Paul Matheson side. As Paul Matheson watching this bowl, Rod Graney's, this is on a good line. But is it going to go through the port, not get the jack on the way through? Gets a touch on the jack, moves it. That's a good saving bowl from the Horswell skip. Moves the jack out to the side of the rink. And may still be 1-2 Nathan Glasson. You'll see the mauve coloured bowl out in front. That's the Nathan Glasson bowl. And out here, of course, today, the New Zealand Peers winner, Bev Morrell. What can we say about this lady? Absolutely outstanding in her mature years. And Sandra Keith winning the national singles, national pairs, and here now playing in the top section of the Burnside pairs. In fact, playing Mike Kernahan at present, unbeaten Kernahan. So Paul Matheson playing the ditch hand, trying to get in front and inside that of the Nathan Glasson bowl, just going to fall under the line of that bowl.
Yeah, still way down there, mate. Yeah, no, it's still there. Through that port, mate. Get to that one. Wait, good. Same weight. Yep, that'll be fine.
So you'll see Kelvin Scott now endeavour to draw through that port on his forehand to get a couple of turns out of that Rod Graney bowl. That was certainly the call from Nathan Glasson. Just a matter of how far that's going to come back. Has it got the right weight and line to get through that port clean to get to the bowl? Just more than likely a bowl wide. No. Paul Matheson now endeavouring to get another bowl on the head for his skip, Rod Graney. And they're leading, as I say, they're leading their section 2. And this bowl needs to sit on. The Glasson bowl going to be unlucky, gets a feather, but just goes by. So we'll see. I'm sure Rod Graney will be endeavouring to try to get a touch on that jack. Perfect conditions here. Wee bit of a breeze, just getting up. You'll see the flags on the far side, the Harcourt's sign, just fluttering around in the breeze, but certainly not of any really major consequence. There's this breeze this morning. So Nathan Glasson having a look to see whether he's still going to play that same shot that Kelvin Scott endeavoured to play to sit the bowl out behind the head. No, he's going to the forehand draw shot on the backhand draw, sorry. On that ditch side, playing on the end rink. How far is it going to come back? Different weight out there as well, of course, playing in that unplayed green, but it's on a good line. This looks very good, this bowler, Nathan Glasson, as it comes down to, but you'll see there, just pulled up very, very quickly in that thicker. So the call to Rod Graney from Paul Matheson to try and get the bowl. Bowl's worth 4 shots by all accounts. If he can get that, or even if he got the jack, so Graney will be playing with weight up through there on the back end. We'll need to play with a lot of weight to hold it through that narrower line. That's certainly not on the, it's on the wide side. Needed to be. Now, you'll hear Kelvin Scott saying to Nathan Glasson, give me the best back bowl. Because you'll see the same shot now played by Rod Graney. He played that drive weighted shot on the backhand, but just needs to adjust that line. So Kelvin Scott quite happy with the head, and he just covering if that jack gets moved back. It's on a good line. This bowl of Nathan Glasson's just coming by the jack now, and yeah, very happy with that was Kelvin Scott. Now we'll see a change of weight here from Rod Graney, just trying to sit the bowl through the head. He won't be trying to drive the bowl through because that shot now is gone. So here's Graney on the backhand, trying to reach to that shot bowl of close to the bowl here. Matheson's very close to the bowl. Got the bowl clean, well played from the Horsell player. And I'd say definitely have 1, maybe 2. We'll just let the measuring go on. 2 it was. Well played by Rod Graney. 5 ends gone now. 8-5 to the combination of Nathan Glasson and Kelvin Scott from the Elmwood Park Club here in Christchurch. Up against Paul Matheson and Rod Graney. Other games that are going on in this top section this morning in the last section play before we go to the semi-finals this afternoon. Mike Kernahan's up against Sean Thompson. Of course, Mike Kernahan leading that section. Jonty Horwell playing Bradley Downs. That's in section 1. In section 2, we've got Matt Small up against Rod Fleming, and it is, well, Matt Small, of course, is leading that section, and Matt Gallup up against Trevor Drake. Matt Gallup running second in the section. Section 3, the one recovering Paul Matheson leading the section. He's up against the third place Nathan Glasson, and Kerry Becks of Rangiora is playing Ewan Willis in the other match in section 3. In section 4, Craig Carter is up against Regan Larkin, who is running second in that section, and Joe Edwards, who was defeated yesterday afternoon by Craig Carter, is playing Sam Morton of South Canterbury. So those are the games which are underway. 8-5 in this match we're bringing to you with, you'll see, Paul Matheson is opened up on this sixth head very well. One right on or just below the jack, one right on that centre line. 6 of 15 ends. Certainly right out on the wider side here, Calvin Scott electing to play that ditch hand, and you'll see the kind draw that there is towards the jack out on that ditch hand. Just got to have it's a different weight adjustment though for sure on that ditch hand. Greenkeeper here, Jamie Ferris. Done a wonderful job preparing these greens. Greens are in outstanding condition here at Burnside, because they've had continuous play really from the 2nd of January right through with the Somerset National Championships and now the Burnside Peers. Here's Graney now on the backhand, trailing by 8-5, playing his first 2 bowls. Just question how far is it going to run with the jack. Just missed the jack, certainly had weight on it. So Nathan Glasson will endeavour to beat that Kelvin, just get in front of that Kelvin Scott bowl, just lower the head, and that would just about be shot. So here is Glasson now. Start to work back towards the centre line now. It's got that very kind draw out there off the ditch hand, hasn't got the weight. So Rod Graney, you want to take a yard of weight off on the backhand. And as he adjusted that weight, think he has, breaks down towards the centre line now, just going by the centre line. Still they had a metre of weight on it. So Nathan Glasson endeavouring to get in front of that Kelvin Scott bowl to make shot of it. And again, it's going to fall short. At least one shot, maybe 2 shots to the Matheson-Graney combination as they change over to play the 3rd set of 2 bowls by Paul Matheson and Kelvin Scott. Great to see Joe Edwards, a legend, of course, is Edwards on the greens down here at Burnside. Of course, was a member here at the Burnside Bowling Club when residing in Christchurch, played out of Burnside. So here's Paul Matheson's played 2 very good bowls on his first 2. And it's going to finish slightly jack high.
Shall I try and play Rodney's weight so then at least if they trail and we've got cover? Close, well that would cost me 1 down, mate. You only need 10 yours to beat yours.
And we'll bring you a full breakdown of all the results at the completion of this round. Here's Scott trying to get a slide and get to the jack, which he duly does. It's sliced away from him though, just rested over towards the Paul Matheson bowl. Definitely one to the Horswell combination. Good attempt there from Kelvin Scott. Change the hand to the backhand. Right, Paul Matheson needs to make sure he's out on that wide side. Let the bowl work its way back. How's the weight? Not going to have the weight, I don't think, to get all the way down. The indication from Nathan Glasson is that they're still 2 down. And definitely on that ditch hand, you certainly need another yard of weight to get that result. So Kelvin Scott just having a discussion with Nathan Glasson. Going to reach down through those 2 bowls, try and turn some things into the head, playing with weight to turn bowls into the head so he doesn't have to get around those bowls, trying to get to the jack and gets a feather off its side bowl. And definitely one to the Graney Matheson combination. Maybe 2. So here's Rod Graney now on the backhand, playing his last 2 bowls on this, the 16. On his backhand is the Horswell player, trailing 8 shots to 5, holding 1, maybe 2. This looks a well green bowl. How's the weight though as it comes towards the head now? Needs to stop now or sit on the bowl. Will do so. And you'll hear there Kelvin Scott saying to Nathan Glasson, doesn't change anything. So that search down there on that forehand side is Glasson trying to get to the jack. He's close to getting the jack into the ditch. Bounce back out again, desperately unlucky. Played the perfect shot. Went straight back to the bowl and the jack. Unfortunately for the combination of Glasson and Scott, the jack hit the rubber, bounced it back out onto the green and bounced it back to where the Horswell bowls. You can see the blue bowl of Paul Matheson's there, which is certainly shot, and a good bowl there from Rod Graney. And the message needs to get to Paul Matheson to move off the head. So at least a couple here for the Horswell combination. Nathan Glasson trying to save the situation, needing to get to the jack. He's got the jack, well played by the Elmwood Park player. Came down around the front bowl, got to the jack. Certainly had the weight on to hold him up all the way through. And got the jack, moved it. Not sure whether it's 1 or 2. We'll see in but a moment when the scoreboard gets changed, but well played by the Elmwood Park player. He was desperately unlucky, deserved that result. He was so unlucky with his first, which of course got the jack clean and hit the rubber and bounced back. And in fact it was a 3, so that was a big turnaround for the Elmwood Park combination. Well played. I've certainly turned some heads around. 11-5 now, 11-5 after 6 of the 15 ends. The 6 that they scored on the third end. They were 2 down on that end. And again, it was the attacking shots of the Glasson-Scott combination turned it around. And that time we just saw a weighted, I'll call it a weighted draw shot from Nathan Glasson, which moved the jack. So Kelvin Scott on his backhand. Not sure how much weight that's got. You'll see Nathan Glasson, you see his shorts there, you see that wind just buffeting them around a fraction. There's our thoughts today as well go to those people in Tonga who suffered that cyclone, the tsunami which went through there yesterday, and our thoughts of course are with all of those Tongan people, especially those of course affected from that terrible event, and to all of the Tongan families here in New Zealand, of which a number are in the bowling fraternity. Yeah, our thoughts are with you. That very, very disastrous tsunami which hit Tonga last evening. So Nathan Glasson on the mat after a big turnaround with his last bowl. Here he moved the jack successfully. Another good bowl from Glasson, just creeps towards the jack. Putting the pressure on Rod Graney earlier on this head, on the backhand. And we'll just see how far this bowl comes back off that centre line, off the ditch hand. It's going to come back to just past the centre line. That's a great attempt from Graney, who will more than likely be shot. See the bowl still moving, falls over. Glasson now on his backhand. Certainly out on the wider side. How far is it coming back? Looks to be on a good draw towards the jack in his own bowl. Is it going to get underneath his own bowl? So just here, Paul Matheson saying to Rod Graney, hard to draw it down there, and you're just the one down. So we'll see what Graney now on his forehand, trying to draw up underneath to sit inside his own bowl. Paul Matheson, he now runs into his front bowl. So as the scripts change over, and Matheson and Kelvin Scott will play their two bowls. Kelvin Scott on the mat, current New Zealand singles title holder. On his forehand, needs to come under the front bowl. Not going to. Nathan Glasson though still pretty happy with it. So Matheson now, which is on his backhand. He's certainly on a narrower line. How far will it hold up? Trying to get down towards the bowl of Glasson's going to fall short under the line. Well, they need it with that line. Might need another yard of weight. Kelvin Scott now to play his last bowl on this, the 7th at the halfway mark of this 15-end round 3 match. And Kelvin Scott trying to get low of weight, certainly was. Now, Matheson needs to make sure he's reaching up through under that line of the front bowl to get to the head. Need another yard of weight to do his first, hasn't done so. Will skip outside what is the counting, the 2 bowls of Glasson's had more weight, but certainly needed to be on a different line. $11-5, sorry, as Rod Graney and Nathan Glasson make their way to the mat to play their last 2 bowls. Glasson. So here's Nathan Glasson on his backhand. Kelvin Scott likes this bowl as it comes in towards the head now. Then to turn the bowl over, trying to get a roll out of it. Rod Graney, the horse will play up, trying to play under the head. Paul Matheson was unable to do so, needs to break now, doesn't want to get this front bowl. It's the front bowl and turns one of the other bowls into the head.
You choose, mate, I'm happy either way. This doesn't look like I can get another shot there, because it gets to the back of mine and I count, eh? No, but if you get to there, you count. You're still on, you're still on the centre line. Hey? Well, get us the best back. Get out to here.
So from that, I wonder how the body language from there, saying get to the back, that indicates to me that there's a couple of shots to the Scott Glasson combination. Otherwise, they'd be endeavouring to change things around. And Nathan Glasson is going to do exactly what was asked of him and give that back bowl 2 down. I think was the call I heard then from Paul Matheson. So Rod Graney, he'll be wanting to try and bridge this scoring situation. And is not going to break under the line. And the noise, I heard them say it was 2. If it is, that's 13-5 to the Glasson-Scott combination. I'm not going to try and guess outcomes or anything like that, but differential becomes in so important in this these latter rounds, this last round especially. So Jack's been delivered just low of the 2 metre mark. So that shadow right out in front of us here. We're upstairs here at Burnside looking over the green. And that clubhouse shadow just sitting there. So we see this bowl of Kelvin Scott's off that ditch hand, breaking in towards the centre line. Going to sit. Jack level. Great opening bowl from Scott. On a wider line this time on that side of the rink is Paul Matheson coming back towards the centre line, finishes Jack level. So here's Kelvin Scott again. Certainly seems now to have full grasp of that ditch hand, the wider hand as he draws right alongside the Jack. 2 great bowls from. And here's the change of hand call from Rod Graney. That being the backhand for Paul Matheson. Would certainly need to change his line, get out on that wider side. Looks to have a lot of weight on it though. How far would it come back? And it's going to go by. I finished just over jack level. It wasn't as heavy as I thought it was. Looked heavy down the green. And I'm sure, well, Graney, no bowls in behind the head, but can certainly attack those two bowls for sure. As we play end 8 of 15. So here is Nathan Glasson. He's also on that good line, and he won't mind if he comes all the way past or he sits inside. That bowl does makes 3 of it. I wonder whether Graney is going to play immediately with weight. Try and break those bowls up. He is on the drive, is Rod Graney, trying to dislodge these 3 bowls, or at least a couple of them. We'll see when Paul Matheson moves, and he removes all 3 bowls. Well played by the Horswell skip. 3 down when he played that. Got them clean and leaves the Matheson bowl as shot. So Rod Graney here will draw after playing a really, really good drive with his first bowl. Coming down towards the centre line now, and well played from the Horswell skip. Drove the 3 bowls out with his first. Now the second draws, sits right behind the jack. Bit of crowd cover here now at Burnside. You can see the Val Smith-Sam Morton game. 6 ends gone, 6-3, and I'm not sure who's in front there, but pretty tight match. Mike Kernan game, I see that's 5-4 as well. Another tight match, but not sure who's in front. And certainly not going to try and guess as we see Kelvin Scott fall short with his first bowl. Matheson back to his favoured forehand, playing down towards the park end here at Burnside. Just comes past us here in the commentary position because we're a story up. Going to be it's a long way away, but will actually count because remembering 3 of the Elmwood Park bowls were driven off the head. So here's Scott going back to what is his backhand, moving away from the ditch hand, just trying to get second shot. He'd be happy with that, with the score at 12-5. How far is this coming back now? Needs to sit inside the bowl. In fact, goes by and won't make any change. Will still be 4 shots to the Horswell combination. Here's now Paul Matheson playing his last bowl on this, the 8th end. An opportunity to really put the pressure on Nathan Glasson on the changeover. As it goes past me, needs to sit on something and just turn one of their own bowls into the head. Definitely 3, maybe 4. So this could be in the context of the match. This could be a big head, but plenty of room though for Nathan Glasson to draw second shot. Glasson, of course, Canterbury representative, part of the Bowls 3-5 side in the televised event when it was last held 2 years ago, I think it was. Something on the calendar, I believe, coming up. So here is Nathan Glasson on his backhand. I don't think he's got the weight, and hasn't, and will fall outside the bowls of Jack, just off the 2 metre mark. The indication from Kelvin Scott was that it was good weight, but it was a breeze that affected the bowl. Well, looking out on the green now, it may be a bit of a compliment paid by Kelvin, because I don't think they actually, looking at the flags, etc., around us here at Burnside, that would have made a great deal of difference. Here's Rod Graney now playing his first bowl of his last bracket of 2. He's certainly out on the wider side, going to stay right out on the wider side. So here, the objective here for Glasson. Second shot is the shot to go for. On the backhand is Nathan Glasson from the Elmwood Park Club, playing with Kelvin Scott. No breeze to hear Kelvin Scott say, and that drifts by on the wider side. And this is a big head for the Horswell combination, after we saw Rod Graney drive the shot bowls out and then draw himself just in behind the jack. Certainly got a tighter line than his first. Just question how far is this going to get to the jack. If it gets inside the Matheson bowl, it will count, and will. And we'll just see what goes up on the board. It was a number 12-5 going into that last head, and things were picked up pretty, and it's now 12-11, so that was a big number. 12-11 now. A 6, so we've seen 2 6s in this match. One to the Glasson-Scott combination on the 3rd end, and now on the 8th end. One to a 6 to the Paul Matheson Rod Graney combination, and that's just what they need. Even if they were to lose this game, they just want to make sure that they're in close contact and not dent their differential too much, as they have got a differential of 22 plus 22, so they have got a tidy differential going into this match. He's now Kelvin Scott trying to get past the Matheson bowl, just not quite going to do so. Playing up towards the Avonhead Shops end here at Burnside. Remember, in 15 ends in these, this is the 3rd round, or the last round of the post section, and we've got the matches we've got underway. Is we've got Mike Kernahan up against Sean Thompson, Kernahan leading section 1, and John T. Horwell up against, who's laying up against Bradley Downs. Bradley Downs laying 2nd in that section. Matt Small's leading section 2, and he's playing Rod Fleming right now. And the second combination in the section, Matt Gallup, is playing Trevor Drake. In this section, as you know, Paul Matheson is playing Nathan Glasson, and Kerry Becks is playing Eon Willis. And in the 4th section, we have got Craig Cutter playing Regan Larkin, and Joe Edwards playing Sam Warden, and Carter and Larkin are sitting 1 and 2 in that section, but Carter with the advantage of having 2 wins going into this last round. 12-11 now in this Kelvin Scott Nathan Glasson match up against Paul Matheson and Rod Graney, as we play this 9th of 15 ends. As we see the bowler Graney's going by, it'd be 1 shot to Kelvin Scott at this point in time. Here now is Glasson, the well-performed Canterbury player out of the Elmwood Park Club. Looks to be on a good line, this bowler Glasson's, and sits right on top of the jack. Here's Rod Graney trying to reach to the Nathan Glasson shot bowl, going to be under the head. And it'll be 2 shots. That's been held by Glasson and Scott at this point, with Glasson and Scott leading 12-11 as we play the 9th of 15. And immediately, well, not immediately, but then the next round will bring you one of the 2 semi-finals. We'll be bringing you that live. And then, of course, the final, another good bowl of Nathan Glasson sitting right on the centre line. Just makes that draw line that much harder for the Matheson-Graney combination. And looking out now, the wind that they were talking about, there's literally no wind at all. The flags just coming through in gusts. Flags are not moving. We've got perfect conditions here at the Burnside Bowling Club. And if you go to the Burnside Bowling Club as well, you can go on their link and go direct to the live coverage. So the Burnside Bowling Club, www.burnsidebowls.co.nz. I think that sounds near enough to write. That will give you a link there where you can go direct and watch. You can watch right throughout the day as Matheson needs to get a slide to get second shot, does so, sits just in behind that of the Nathan Glasson bowl, second shot. A bit of a breeze going through now. Just as I said, there wasn't any wind, so obviously it's just gusts that are coming through here at Burnside. And Kelvin Scott endeavouring to draw through to that last bowl of Paul Matheson, sit on top of the bowl, needs to get past this front bowl, doesn't do so. So saying to change your hand on the forehand, needs to get out on that wider side, though of course does Rod Graney. Certainly a different line out there for Matheson. Going to come back inside this bowl, needs to be inside the bowl, not going to do so.
Very good. Yep.
And that's a Rod Graney bowl that Matheson ran into and turned it into the head. And Aidan Zitterstein, of course, playing down here. Congratulations to Aidan Zitterstein on his selection this week in the Cook Island side for the Commonwealth Games, and also to the young former Okahu Bay and Royal Oak, or Onehunga player, Jason Lindsay, who has also been selected in the Commonwealth Games side to go to the Commonwealth Games in August of this year. The New Zealand side, still quite some time from being announced. Training camp coming up in Waitangi weekend, where all of the available players, the non-Australian based players, will be in attendance. Of course, Krista Lee, Valley Forsyth and Caitlin Inch being Australian based, they won't be able to at this point in time, unless it changes tomorrow in the border announcements. They will be unable to be here. But I do know that the selectors have got something afoot, I believe, so as that they'll be given an opportunity to show their wares to the selectors prior to any Commonwealth Games selection. So Nathan Glasson going to play with some reaching weight to try and turn a bowl into their head to get another counter. Could get his own bowl here. No, just needs to get past this clean, gets a slide, sits on it. So just the one. You heard Kelvin Scott say, so it's the Nathan Glasson bowl that sits just down lower the jack, which is shot. Paul Matheson saying to Rod Graney, just try and draw. See the Mike Kernan board now 5-all, and the Joe Edwards board 6-all. And I just say not sure which is which, and not going to try and guess either.
Just a dead draw, mate. If you wish, yep.
So we come to the end of end 9 of 15 in this last, I'll call it qualifying round of post section, 4 sections of 4. And the winners of each one of the 4 sections will, of course, great effort here from Glasson falls in, will count. It is 2. 14-11 after 9 ends, 14-11 after 9 of the 15 ends. And of course the 4 section winners will make their way through to the semi-final, which will be played out in front of us here. I would say at around about 11:30, 11 o'clock. But we'll be live for that semi-final and of course final. And Kelvin Scott certainly now, he's got to grips with this, the ditch hand and that line to the jack. And Paul Matheson now on his backhand following the (20-11). We'll have that semi-final, and we'll be here live for that. Thank you, Melissa. Right on the ball. So Paul Matheson falling short with his first bowl, trailing now by 14 shots to 11 as the section leaders. And we'll see how far this bowl of Kelvin Scott comes by. Not going to come back as far as he thought. Paul Matheson needs to improve by a metre. So I can tell you, just in scoreboard change, that it is Joe Edwards who is leading Sam Morden by 10 shots to 5. 10 shots to 5. Joe Edwards and Val Smith leading their game over Sam Morden. And remembering, of course, they are running second in their section behind Craig Cutter, who at present is playing Regan Larkin. So another good bowl here from Nathan Glasson, sitting jack level. Be holding 2 shots. Rod Greeny now trying to follow the line of the Nathan Glasson bowl. With how far is it going to come back? Looks to be on a reasonably good line. Breaking towards the jack now in the centre line. This is well played by the Horswell player. Draws it, touches, sits right alongside it. Sits right on the jack. You see the yellow jack there and the speckly bowl of Rod Graney. So Glasson now change a hand, daring to get to the jack. Split on those 2 bowls. We'll get a touch down to the jack. Just going to go by slightly on the wide side. Had the weight though to get the split onto his own bowl or that of the shot bowl, that being the Rod Graney bowl, with it Glasson and Scott leading 14 shots to 11. 14-11 as we play in 10 of 15. So Graney comes down again, is going to sit on his own, just slips through the gap. Another bowl in and around the head. the Burnside Piers as well was initially, remember, in memory of the great Stu Butter, former New Zealand player, New Zealand coach, who played here at Burnside and sadly passed away a few years back now, but his son Nick is here, I believe, playing. So here's Kelvin Scott trying to get that split inside the bowl, does so, turns the bowl out through the head, well played, didn't even move the jack. Would think that would be the Nathan Glasson bowl in front of the jack, just lower the jack, that'll be the shot. Perfectly weighted shot there by the New Zealand singles winner from 10 days ago here at Burnside on a different green, but certainly he was outstanding. As we see, this bowler Mathers needs to be inside that bowler Rod Graney. Gets one turn on the bowl, whether it's enough or not, I'm not sure. Just checking to see who's got shot. Just heard Nathan Glasson say that we've still got the shot. So Scott now on his forehand. John Phillips, of course, Harcourt's Grenadier, sponsor again of this event. Really good sponsor here at the Burnside Club. So for real estate requirements here in the Canterbury area, don't hesitate to give John Phillips, Harcourt's Grenadier, give him a call. As we see, this bowler Matheson's always looked tight and is tight. Will turn one of his own bowls over, but just makes it a wee bit more difficult to get into the head. Was always short of the line. And of course, thank you to Tamara and Melissa, the brains behind putting all this together. And we'll be back with you, of course, next week from Taranaki, where we'll be bringing you, there is John Phillips, proud sponsor, keen bowler, Harcourt's Grenadier here. So for all your real estate requirements, John Phillips is the man to see, long-time supporter here of Burnside. So here is now Nathan Glasson on the mat on this, the 10th end. Certainly playing with weight to get to the shot bowl. Oh, just goes by. And it was the opinion was Glasson. It was a better shot option than trying to draw it down through there. Rod Graney endeavouring to get another bowl on the head. Needs to get past his front bowl. Looked narrow on the way down. Where that gets in Glasson's line, may do. You have to go a lot quicker now. So here now is Nathan Glasson. Certainly is going a lot quicker now to get to the bowl. He's going to get the front, gets his own bowl. I think just the one, don't think it makes any difference really. So you might have heard Paul Matheson saying to Rod Graney, if you play with reaching weight through the head, you can reach that bowl, turn the Scott bowl out of the head for 4. I'm just looking to the side of the monitor here, right down below us. And you can see right on the 2 metre mark is the jack. Looks as though it's on a good line though. It's going to be under the line. It's going to get to the jack, in fact, and gets the jack neatly through the... I think it may still have the shot. One it is. A good opportunity there for the Horswell combination. Instead got the jack, did Rod Graney. No danger. 14-12 now. 14-12 as we complete 10 of 15 ends in this Burnside Invitation Piers Played here in beautiful conditions at the Burnside Bowling Club here in Christchurch. The jack's been delivered just low of the 2 metre mark. Here's Matheson now on his backhand. So Kelvin Scott persisting on that ditch hand. See it come back towards the centre line. More than likely just a yard of weight more than what he wanted. And as you watch this bowler, Paul Matheson's so Kelvin Scott just sits on the back bowl there of Paul Matheson. The front bowl of Paul Matheson's a blue coloured bowl is the shot. As we play end 11. So Rod Graney now trailing 14-12 on this, the 11th of 15 ends. It's on a good line, this bowler, Rod Graney. Is going to sit in behind the jack, sit jack level, will it? Well, I'm sure you'll see Glasson will endeavour to play through those two bowls. Search his way down through the jack on the backhand. He'll play through the front two bowls with weight. Looks as though it's going to hang though on that wide side. May get the outside of the blue bowl. Just makes that shot more difficult now. Literally takes that away, that reaching shot through on the backhand. And now Graney will just endeavour to come past his own counting bowls and sit him behind the head, endeavouring to make 3 shots of it. From the Horsell Club, got beaten last week in the quarterfinals of the national pairs, Somerset national pairs, this combination. And it makes it. So we'll see what weight. He's playing on the drive to get underneath the front bowl. There's Glasson to get to the 2 bowls. And it just goes by. The jack was only centimetres away from getting a split on the 2 counting bowls. Didn't do so. So the change over to play now their second lot of bowls. Well, Matheson and Scott. Well played there from Paul Matheson. His first bowl just came in between the gaps, sat right on top of the jack. And right off target there was Kelvin Scott. Now Rod Graney saying let's come out to the side of the head here on this ditch hand, give us some cover, because the attack will be coming from the Elmwood Park combination. Holding 3 shots. So I'm sure we'll see Kelvin Scott again. Hello. Someone moving up there. Kelvin Scott also, of course, will be on the plane tonight to Taranaki. Lining up in the Taranaki Open fours. So here's Scott again now on the charge, trying to get to these front bowls. Going to be under the head again, might flick the... No, he doesn't. Goes by. If I'm not mistaken, I think that Paul Matheson and Kelvin Scott may well be playing together with Morris Symes, in fact, in the Taranaki Open fours. See Mike Kernahan in his oversized shorts, hats floppy, as he's well known for, with the toweling hat on. Very distinctive look on the green, has New Zealand high performance coach, well known around the world as hats floppy. He's the man that's invented the virtually, we'll call it the bucket hat. Well played here from Graney. Going to draw. Got a slight touch on the jack. Sits right behind it. Well played. This is a well played head by the Horswell combination. Nathan Glasson will need to. He'll be attacking that. He'll be full drum at that. So here's Glasson on the drive, trying to get to those counting bowls. Going to make contact. Got the front one. Slides it out of the head. Very well played by the Horswell combination. Another wonderful bowl here by Rod Graney, but unfortunately it just widens up the target for Nathan Glasson on the drive. Where he'll be on the drive. Well, Glasson, here he is on the drive, and he's off target. Completely off target there. This 4 or 5. This is a big end in the context of possibly who's going to qualify from this section. We'll just see them change the board. Indication was it was 5, and it is. I've just seen it change. So we've seen the Matheson-Graney combination pick up a 6 and a 5. 6 on the 8th end and an 11 on the 11th end of 5 to take them to a 17-14 lead at the completion of the 11th end. And of course they lead their section. They lead section 3. And congratulations also to Sharon Sims and her husband Ken, because Sharon Sims, former New Zealand coach, multi-New Zealand title holder, world champion, New Zealand Bowls Hall of Fame, and the Manawatu. Sharon's done everything in the sport, been one of the legends. Her and her husband Ken yesterday celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So our congratulations go out to Sharon and Ken on that milestone of their 50th wedding anniversary. As we see Kelvin Scott draw the shot. Of course, Sharon's still very active playing bowls in the Manawatu region. So here's Paul Matheson needing to beat his own, not going to do so, just going to come lower the jack. Kelvin Scott drawn the shot in behind the jack. So another second bowler. Scott's going to come in behind the head. You'll see it there. To sit right underneath the number. 17-14 as we play in 12 as the skips change over, and they'll play now their first of two bowls. And two of the leading combinations, say Tony Grantham, Mike Kernahan, are leading their section. Now got a very tight match at present, I can see, over against Sean Thompson. And it's 7-5 at this point in time. And I'm not sure of who's actually 7 and who's 5. A tight game. Joe Edwards also trying to get away into the semi-finals this afternoon after losing her game yesterday to Craig Carter, and that's Edwards leading her match over Sam Morden by 11 shots to 6. So here's the Granny bowl, going to finish literally jack leveled, falls in, won't be the shot, still be the Kelvin Scott bowl. There's a shot leading 17-14 as Rod Graney and Paul Matheson of the Horswell Club over Nathan Glasson and Kelvin Scott of Elmwood Park here in Christchurch. Of course, the Elmwood Park Saints, part of the Bowls 3-5 televised event. So now Matheson and Scott will play their last two bowls on this, the 12th of the 15 ends. Last round of section play. Well, it's last round of post-section play to find the semi-finalists, and then on to the final. So here's Matheson, looks to have speed on, and it's a touch on the Rod Graney bowl, turned it out of the head. Still just the one to the Scott and Glasson combination. So Kelvin Scott now needs to come back to the centre line, sit on this bowl. Will do so, falls in, that will count. We'll say that's 2 to the Elmwood Park combination. Matheson now on his backhand. How far is this going to come back to the Kelvin Scott bowl? Needs to sitting jack level. May well, I don't think so, no, not quite second shot, I wouldn't say, still 2 I would say to the Scott combination, Scott and Glasson combination. So here's Kelvin Scott now on his forehand. On a tighter line, needs to get past the front one, get inside the bowl of Paul Matheson, and didn't quite have the weight to get all the way down to the head. Certainly had the line. Jack right on the 2 metre mark, right below us here from this commentary position, looking out over the green here at Burnside. So here is Graney trying to sit inside. He's got onto the Paul Matheson bowl, turned inside it, got a fortuitous slide, and now sits Jack level at shot and leading 17-14 after scoring a 5 on the 11th end and a 6 on the 8th end. Two big ends for the Horswell combination. Here's now Glasson looking for the jack or the shot bowl coming down through the head. Gets tangled up on the front, and in fact did dislodge the Rod Graney bowl after getting a slide, but it sits directly behind the jack, and I'm sure it's still shot. That of the Horswell combination as we come down towards the finish of end 12. Here's Graney on the backhand. Needs to get past these Paul Matheson bowls and draw towards the head. Needs to get cleanly around it. Doesn't do so. Just got a feather off that front bowl of Paul Matheson's. So Nathan Glasson on the mat, the Cantabrian. Needs to be on a wider line. So another one to the Horswell combination. Just wait for that scoreboard to change. Sure, it was just the 1, 18-14. It would make it now as we come to the finish in 12 of 15. Rod Graney likes this bowler. Matheson's it breaks in towards the centre line now. Going to sit right in on the centre line, right on the 2 metre mark is the jack. As we play in 13 of 15. And it was a 1, 18-14 now after 12 of the 15 ends in this last round of section play of the top section here at Burnside. And the Wonder Chef has just arrived in here into the commentary area. Does a wonderful job. Kay Bunting, and I happen to know that there is some delectable cheese rolls which sort of been, yes, I just got the wink, they're prepared and down below. They're actually for Melissa, really. So on the backhand is Kelvin Scott trailing 18-14 now as the Scott Glasson combination going to sit inside the bowl. It does so. Turns it over, sits right on the centre line as the skips now change over to play their first 2 bowls on this end 13 of 15. I can tell that Joe Edwards is leading 11-6, but in the blend of it all, I don't know what it all means really. And Mike Kernahan, who is leading his section, I can tell you is leading 8-5, 8-5. Kernahan is leading over Sean Thompson. Kernahan unbeaten at this point in time. So Rod Graney endeavouring to get down to the shot bowl of Kelvin Scott's going to finish low of the jack. Needed another half a metre of weight down to where the shot bowl sits. So Glasson now on his backhand. Looks on a good line. Just how's that weight on the way through? Looks to sit right towards the jack. It does. Sits right in behind it. Well, I just got a note sent to me from Colin and Alex, and they are watching the live streaming and would kill for those cheese rolls. So that's Alex and Colin from Bowls New Zealand, who are. Oh, it's great! It's great to have you on board, chaps, and congratulations again on the great job you did down here at Burnside last weekend. And I'm sure we'll make sure the cheese rolls are fine. So, look, it's 2 shots to the Kelvin Scott, Nathan Glasson combination. Another good bowl coming in here from Glasson. Is it going to run all the way? Falls in, could well count. Paul Matheson having a good look at it, but definitely 2 down anyway. 18-14 on the 13th end of this, the Burnside Grenadier Piers. It's had a, of course, it is really still the Stu Butter Memorial Piers. That's how it all started, really off in memory of the great Stu Butter, who was, and his son, of course, is playing here today. Stu, New Zealand player, New Zealand coach, and unfortunately passed away a number of years back. It was iconic in his contribution to the game. Absolute perfectionist was Stewie. And of course won New Zealand titles and represented New Zealand with pride and distinction. So here is Kelvin Scott now on the backhand. Needs to get under the bowl of Paul Matheson's, not going to do so, just outside the bowl. Thanks for those kind words, Peter Thorne. And I'll shame you're not here, but we'll also make sure that we'll treat the cheese rolls with due respect that they deserve. Here's now Kelvin Scott on this, the 13th end, trailing by 18 shots to 14. Holding the shot on this header is the Scott Glasson combination in this 3rd round match. This is going to be short, this bowl of Kelvin Scott. Paul Matheson there giving directions to Rod Graney. You can see a bit of breeze there now. You can see the flags buffing around in the wind, but looking down on the green doesn't really seem to be too dramatic. And looking at the heads, they look to be as though it's not having too great an effect. So here is Rod Graney leading 18-14 to play his first bowl of his last 2 of the end 13, 15 end 3rd round match. 2 down on the head, and Matheson looking keenly at this one. Going to get a feather, ran into the Rod Graney short bowl, and we'll still leave 2. I'm picking now, we'll see. Nathan Glasson is going to his forehand, just needs to beat the bowls out to the side there. The other hand now, is the ditch hand completely closed up. Nathan Glasson, though, appears to have taken the green that one will be taken on the ditch hand, goes by on that wider side. And we'll see Rodney Graney just try and adjust his line slightly to draw down to the 2 counting bowls. The horse will skip here, it is on its way. And we'll see the line of the bowl looks to be on a better line, but I don't think it'll get all the way back to where those 2 counting bowls are. No, it won't. Goes by. So Nathan Glasson's got a couple of feet here to draw a 3rd shot and go 1 behind to the penultimate 14th end. Definitely got 2. Here's Glasson on the draw, on the forehand. This looks a better weighted bowl, this one, as it comes towards the head. Kelvin Scott's looking at it closely. It's got to sit inside this bowl, and how far will it roll? Falls in, will make shot. and does. I'm picking that's 3. We'll see the board change in a minute. 13 ends gone in this round 3 and final match of the second round of section play, and it is 18-17 now. It was a 3. 18-17 as we play end 14 of 15. Good to know that you're watching up there in Auckland, Peter Thorne. I know you'd really like to be here, and sadly not making the event. So here's this first bowl of Kelvin Scott, the current New Zealand singles title holder, after he beat Tony Grantham last week down here at Burnside by 21 shots to 13 in the final, to 14 in the final of the national singles. Yeah, he was outstanding, was Kelvin Scott. And of course Tony Grantham, who he played, then went on to play with Gary Lawson and defeated in the final of the pairs against Andrew Kelly and Seamus Curtin, the composite side. Kelly, of course, of the Canterbury Club hit down here, and it's Seamus Curtin of Stokes Valley in Wellington, winning his first New Zealand Open title, and he's performed very strongly against Gary Lawson and Tony Grantham, especially over the latter stages of that semi-final. The Joe Edwards match now, I can tell you, 11 ends gone in their match, and it's 12-6 now to Joe Edwards, as we see Matheson trying to get down towards the jacks. Going to have weight and be narrow and will slide by. And remembering, of course, this combination, Graney and Matheson, were beaten in the quarterfinals last week of the Somerset National Pairs, so they certainly are an informed pairs combination. That's right, Paul, Zumi Matheson, you move out to the side. Oops. So Nathan Glasson now on the mat, trailing 18 shots to 17, and looks on a fairly good line. How far is it going to come back? It's coming back now. It needs to get underneath cleanly, and is going to do so and sit alongside the Kelvin Scott bowl. Well played by the Elmwood Park skip. Of course, it does leave an opportunity there for Rod Graney. There's a 2-bowl sit there on that backhand side of the rink, which is right down in front of us here in the commentary position. Jack sitting right on the 2 metre mark. The 2 bowls, the counting bowls, are about 9 inches low and is away from the jack, so sitting in a perfect position for that weighted shot to the jack. It's exactly what he's on the forehand endeavouring to do. Is Rod Graney, the Paul Matheson bowl sitting just in behind their head. Is it going to come all the way back? This is on a good line, this bowler. Graney's not going to quite get the weight, just finishes on the centre line. Glasson, just see a bit of breeze there, just walked back from the mat on this, the 14th of 15 ends. Try and emulate at the Kelvin Scott bowl, get another bowl on the head. Holding 2 shots is the Elmwood Park combination. Kelvin Scott likes this bowl. Is it coming towards the head now? Going to get clean under the bowl. Does do so. That's 3 shots. I would say, would Ford change a hand from Rod Graney to will play with a lot more weight. So here he is on the forehand, on the mat, the Horsell player. This is coming down with a lot more weight. You can see that with the swing of the arm. Gets the front bowls and got one of his own as well. Still 2 shots to the Elmwood Park combination. The sun comes out from behind the clouds. Look down, it's the original 2 bowls that are now the shot bowls. The mauve coloured bowl of Nathan Glasson's just lower the jack, and the Kelvin Scott bowl, which is sitting literally jack level. So Scott now as we play Ian 14. No doubt these boys are tuning through the look around the other scoreboards. They're certainly getting through the ends. Good sign. And turns the front bowl of Paul Matheson's over. Makes no difference. Matheson now needed to reach that on his backhand. Looked to me tight out of the hand. It's just a matter of how much weight he's got, but no, it is as we thought. It's going to run tight under the head, and just looked out of the hand. Certainly looked to be narrow. Kelvin Scott been trying to add to the count. So Scott Bowl coming down now, needs to get an inside slide, does so, sits, moves the jack around the corner, and will certainly lay 3 shots. Matheson now trying to play on his backhand. Even if he gets to rest inside the bowl and make second shot would be a good outcome. So here's, no, again, that's narrow, you can see. That's going to go by as well. Rod Grady encouraging not to get in the road, to leave the line clear for him. If you're not going to get the target, then make sure that you're not going to get in my road, really, is what Rod Grady was saying nicely. I'm looking down over the head here at Burnside, right out inside our commentary position here, over the top of the head, and definitely 3 shots. Of course, it's 18-17 to Matheson and Graney as we play this, the 14th end. And then see what happens after that. So here is now Nathan Glasson from the Elmwood Park Club on the mat, on the forehand. And that looks to be slightly on that wider line. And he'd be quite happy though if it gets through clean and gets down towards the deep on the rink to give them the backest bowl. At the moment it's Paul Matheson holding the deepest bowl on the green. Graney, he'll be endeavouring to reach down here on the forehand. Needs to be tighter on the line than what this bowl is, and it's going to be outside the target area, and is jack level, but a metre wide of the target area. Nathan Glasson will be endeavouring to get another bowl into the head. Won't mind if it's just behind him, would still count. Kelvin Scott saying that wind would leave you alone. Coming around behind the head now. Turn the bowl over, and I think we'll see a change of hand here from Rod Graney to play with reaching weight down through there. Here is the Horsell player on the mat, and he's certainly playing with weight on the drive as Graney. It's going to be on the outside of the target area. Got a couple of the bowls, and would more than likely 2 down. So there it is. 2 to Glasson and Scott. They go to a 19-18 lead. As we go to this, the last end, I can see Dean Drummond doesn't mind the catering here, standing there behind the head, the rink, with the cheese rolls, no doubt. So you see the very colourful Hornets, Horsell Hornets shirts. They'd look good on TV on the Bols 3-5, those very colourful Horsell Hornets shirts. So obviously the 2 metre mark is where they want the jack for sure. Does the Horsell combination, and how far is this going to the 2 metre mark? So Kelvin Scott now on the mat, leading 19-18 as we play the final end here. I can tell you that Joe Edwards is leading her game 12 shots to 8 after 12 ends, but I've got no idea how that all works out in the mix of things with her particular section that they're playing on after losing yesterday to Craig Carter and Jeff Knoll. So here's Paul Matheson, very much on the narrow side. Kelvin Scott again is on a better line here with his first bowl, and this draws some applause from Nathan Glasson and Rod Graney, really saying to Paul Matheson, I think you've got a better chance on the change of hand. Needs to get past the front bowl. Has he got the weight to do so? Yes, he will. Going to turn the bowl over and rolls in for shot. Just got the outside of the bowl. Got a roll on it. Turned it in for shot. So, last end, 19-18 to Nathan Glasson and Kelvin Scott over Paul Matheson and Rod Graney, and it is the Paul Matheson bowl just lower the jack, right in front of it, in fact, which is the shot bowl. Nathan Glasson now, I'm sure, will play on that ditch hand on that backhand side, endeavouring to get to the shot bowl, and he's on. The backhand is the Elmwood Park player. Just a matter of how far that's going to come back. It's got the weight to get all the way back. Don't think it has. It was a fantastic attempt, but just one roll away from getting the result. Kelvin Scott, though, applauding that bowl. Of course, if it was to finish in a draw, I'm sure Paul Matheson and Rod Graney would be quite happy, because I'm sure that would get them through to the semi-finals and would take differential out of the equation, but we'll leave that to the tournament organisers to work all that out. So here's Graney now on his backhand. A lot of bowls to be played before we're at that position. So here's the bowl of Rod Graney. It's on a good line. Not going to have the weight, though, is it, to get to the Matheson bowl to make two of it? No, it's not. Just going to fall a bowl low.
Either way, mate, with the yard of weight.
So you might have heard there Kelvin Scott saying to Nathan Glasson, either way with a yard of weight. So I'm picking he'll stay on that backhand side and try and force his way through the head, reach to the bowl, push it through the head. It's on its way. And maybe tight on the line is going to be, ideally was to get to the inside of his mauve bowl sitting just lower the jack, and that would have ran onto the jack. 19-18 to Nathan Glasson and Kelvin Scott of the Elmwood Park Club. My goodness, that's a great comeback when you consider they've dropped over two ends. They've dropped 11 shots, a 6 and a 5, but also they themselves picked up a 6 on the third end. Rod Graney in behind the head, and if it falls in fact, may well be its fourth shot. So Kelvin Scott will be endeavouring to play to the inside of the mauve bowl of, if he plays that ditch hand, that mauve bowl of Nathan Glasson's, and that's got a direct line from there that would run in towards the jack. And what difference is all going to make? That's at the end of it all, that's entirely up to the people in the chart room who will, they've got all the numbers, fors and against, wins and losses. So Kelvin Scott going for that searching shot on the forehand, and got the jack, got onto the bowl. In fact, turned it over to where there's a bowl. It's a Rod Graney bowl that it was turned over to.
Yep.
So it's one shot to the Horswell combination. And one would think you wouldn't want to disturb that. If you could hold on to that one and tie the match at 19 apiece, you would be through to the semi-final this afternoon for sure, because that would give the Matheson combination 2.5 wins, and no one else in the section could level up with that. So they'd be quite happy if they would hold on to this one, get the draw. So Kelvin Scott playing to reach the shot bowl on that ditch end. He's close to it. He'll get the jack as well. It will go through with it and take the bowl as well. And you might have seen Rod Graney indicate we've got one, because that was always going to go back a straight line to the jack. There it is, you'll see it. Great camera work there from Tamara and Melissa. You'll see it right over the top of the jack there. So here's Matheson holding one and trailing 19-18, and we'll be drawing up towards that. You can see the red number there. Well, that's ideally where you need to get to, and it's the bowler Rod Graney. So you can just see out from the number the charcoal coloured bowl with the black stripe on it. That's the shot bowl with the jack in the ditch. So there you can see it clearly there. There's the shot bowl. But full marks to the greenkeeper here, Jamie Ferris. Great to see with his Manutata green, and the cover was right to the ditch board. Outstanding coverage. So here is Nathan Glasson now, trying to score the one to prevent the draw. And then it comes down to differential. Going for the bowl is Glasson, endeavouring to get to the shot bowl. But didn't do so. You can see there he's trying to run that shot bowl off the head.
Look on your face.
So Rod Graney, he'll endeavour now to just to get another bowl on the head for the Horswell combination, because a draw, as I say, would definitely put them through into the semi-final, which will get underway at 10:40. I'll just better check my scoreboard. It's got it here for blind people. 10:40. The semi-final, and we'll be bringing you that live coverage. Graney, though, needs to get past the front bowl. It's just going to feather it, going to run into the short bowl of Paul Matheson's, and now we'll see Glasson will try endeavouring to dislodge that shot bowl to make two of it. So here's on the drive is Nathan Glasson trying to get down to the shot bowl. Just goes between the shot bowl, all but. And it'll be one shot to the Matheson Graney combination. And that means we're locked up and all drawn at 19 apiece after the 15 ends. So that gives Paul Matheson and Rodney Graney of the Horswell Club 2 wins and a draw in Section 3, and that will guarantee them a spot in the semi-finals this afternoon. Now, as we went into this round, leading the sections, of course, was Section 1 was being led by Mike Kernahan, Section 2 was being led by Matt Small, Section 3 was led by Paul Matheson and Rod Graney. We know the result there now, and Section 4 was being led by Craig Carter. So, of course, we can't bring you those results yet. The greens are still in play, But we'll be back here for the semi-final, and we'll be back here at around about 11:15.